Ladies and gentlemen, there was a time when they tried to bury you. They told you that you weren't enough, that you were too much, that your voice was too loud, or that your ideas were too dangerous. They mocked your ambitions, undermined your confidence, and did everything they could to convince you to stay small. But here's the thing about burying something. They forget that some seeds are meant to grow, and not just grow, erupt, blaze, set the world alight. They thought they could dismiss you, but what they failed to realize is that pressure doesn't break the strong, it refines them. Every rejection, every betrayal, every ounce of doubt thrown at you has been fuel for the fire that now burns within you. The truth is, people fear those who refuse to be controlled. The moment you stop seeking validation from those who want to keep you weak, you become something else entirely. A force, a presence that cannot be ignored. And that is what keeps them up at night. Because they see it now, what they once tried to suppress has only made you stronger. You have become the very thing they feared. Someone who refuses to stay silent. Someone who refuses to be less than what they are capable of becoming. So let them talk, let them doubt, let them scheme, doesn't matter. Because you're not just here to exist, you're here to set the world on fire, and nothing, absolutely nothing can stop that now. Resilience transforms pain into power. There are moments in life when everything seems to conspire against you. The world, in its indifference, does not hesitate to throw obstacles in your path. People, circumstances, even your own doubts, all of them gather like a storm, pressing down on you, whispering that you should give up, that you are not capable, that perhaps this is where your story ends. But here's what they don't understand. Adversity is not the enemy. It is the furnace in which character is forged. The most powerful individuals in history, the ones who reshaped the world with their ideas, their determination, their will, each of them walked through fire. They suffered, they struggled, they endured rejection, failure, and loss. And yet, those very trials were the catalysts for their transformation. Because resilience is not simply surviving hardship. It is the conscious decision to emerge from it stronger. It is the ability to take suffering and transmute it into strength, to take despair and turn it into purpose. The question is never whether you will face challenges. You will. The real question is what you will do when you are buried under the weight of them. You have two choices: remain where you are, broken and defeated, or rise, not despite what happened to you, but because of it. If you choose to rise, something remarkable happens. The things that were meant to destroy you become the very foundation of your strength. The criticisms that once wounded you now serve as fuel. The doubts that once paralyzed you now drive you forward with greater resolve. This is why the world fears those who refuse to be broken. A person who has suffered and come out stronger is a person who can no longer be controlled. They have faced the worst and have emerged not as victims, but as warriors. That kind of strength is unsettling to those who rely on fear to maintain power. It is disruptive, it is dangerous, and so if you find yourself in the depths of hardship, remember this. They may have tried to bury you, but they underestimated you. Because you are not a thing to be buried. You are a fire waiting to rise. The individual strength terrifies the collective. Throughout history, societies have always had a complicated relationship with the individual who refuses to conform. The crowd rewards obedience, encourages uniformity, and finds comfort in predictability. But every now and then, someone emerges, someone who challenges the status quo, who thinks independently, who refuses to bow to the pressures of the collective. And that person, without even trying, becomes a threat, not because they seek destruction, not because they wish harm upon others, but because their very existence exposes a truth that many would rather ignore, that real strength comes from within, not from approval. The moment you stop seeking validation from the world around you, you become something else entirely, something untamed, something uncontrollable. That is why societies, institutions, and even social circles often move quickly to silence those who refuse to follow the script. If you question too much, if you think too deeply, if you refuse to fall in line, the response is swift. You will be dismissed, mocked, even vilified. Not because you are wrong, but because you are inconvenient. Because when you stand up, others are forced to confront their own complacency. And nothing makes people more uncomfortable than being reminded of the courage they lack. But here's the secret: the collective cannot extinguish a fire that burns from within. If your strength comes from external validation, they can take it away. If your confidence is built on the approval of others, they can dismantle it in an instant. But if your resilience, your drive, your purpose is rooted deep within you, then no amount of opposition can truly break you. And that is what keeps them up at night, the realization that no matter how much pressure they apply, you will not yield. That no matter how many obstacles they place in your way, you will keep going. That your strength does not come from their approval, it comes from your own unwavering conviction. And when a person reaches that point, when they become fully independent in mind and spirit, they are no longer just an individual. They become unstoppable. Adversity is the crucible of greatness. No one becomes strong without struggle. No one builds resilience in comfort. Every person who has ever achieved something significant has faced resistance, internal and external. The world does not hand greatness to those who simply ask for it. It tests them. It pushes them to the brink. It asks, how badly do you want this? How much are you willing to endure? At some point, you have encountered hardship. Maybe you've been underestimated, told you're not good enough, dismissed before you even had a chance to prove yourself. Maybe life has thrown challenges your way that made you question whether you had the strength to keep going. And in those moments, you had a choice: to surrender or to persist. Many people give up. They take rejection as a final verdict, failure as proof of their inadequacy. They allow setbacks to define them. But those who rise above, those who refuse to accept defeat, discover something extraordinary. They realize that every hardship, every failure, every ounce of doubt was never meant to break them. It was meant to refine them. Greatness does not emerge in the absence of struggle. It is forged in it. The strongest steel is shaped in the hottest fire. The most unshakable minds are formed in the face of adversity. When you are tested, when you are knocked down, when the world seems to conspire against you, that is the moment you have to decide who you are going to be. Do you let the weight of difficulty crush you, or do you use it to sharpen your resolve? Because if you persist, if you refuse to give in, you will reach a point where hardship no longer weakens you, it strengthens you. The very things that were meant to break you will become the foundation of your power. And when that happens, you will see the truth. They never had the ability to bury you. All they did was give you the pressure you needed to rise. And now you are no longer just standing. You are ascending. Fire is not meant to be extinguished. When a person stands firm in their convictions, when they refuse to be silenced, something extraordinary happens. They become more than just an individual. They become a force, a light in the darkness, a fire that refuses to go out. But here's what you must understand. The world is uncomfortable with fire. It fears those who burn too brightly, those who refuse to conform, those who will not apologize for their strength. And so, it tries to put them out. They will tell you to be quiet. They will tell you to stay in line. They will try to convince you that it's better, easier, safer to dim your light, to lower your voice, to fit neatly into the expectations set for you. Because the truth is, a person who burns with purpose unsettles those who live in fear. But fire is not meant to be extinguished. It is meant to spread. When you refuse to shrink, when you refuse to let their doubt seep into your soul, you send a message that you are here, that you are unshaken, that you will not be buried under the weight of their expectations. And when you do that, something even more powerful happens. You give others permission to do the same. Because courage is contagious. One flame can ignite another. And before long, what was once a single ember becomes an unstoppable blaze. So let them try. Let them attempt to suppress you, to smother the fire inside you. It will not work. Because the more they try to silence you, the louder your presence becomes. The more they try to diminish you, the stronger you rise. And by the time they realize their mistake, it will be too late. Because you are not just a spark, you are the fire that will not go out. Your strength will demand respect. At first they ignored you, then they doubted you, then they tried to stop you. And now they have no choice but to acknowledge you. That is the pattern of those who rise. The world does not greet strength with open arms. It resists it. It challenges it. It throws obstacles in its path, hoping that maybe, just maybe, this time you will bow your head, that you will give up. But when you don't, when you keep moving forward despite everything, they are left with only one option: to recognize the power they once tried to dismiss. The truth is, people may not always like strength, but they will respect it. They will see that no amount of criticism, rejection, or hardship was enough to break you, and whether they admit it or not, they will know that you are not to be taken lightly. That kind of strength is undeniable. It does not seek permission. It does not beg for recognition. It simply exists, unshaken and unstoppable. And that is what keeps them up at night, because they now understand that they were never dealing with someone ordinary. They were dealing with someone relentless, someone who does not crumble under pressure but thrives in it, someone who refuses to be anything less than what they were meant to be. So stand tall, move forward, let them watch. Because whether they love you or fear you, one thing is certain: they will never forget you. The moment you stop seeking approval, you become unstoppable. There is a fundamental truth that most people never realize. As long as you seek approval from others, you will always be under their control. Your confidence, your self-worth, your decisions, if they are tied to the opinions of those around you, then you are not truly free. You are a prisoner of their expectations. And this is precisely why so many people feel trapped. They spend their lives walking on eggshells, carefully measuring their words, adjusting their actions, shaping their very identity to fit the mold that society has set for them. They are terrified of rejection, afraid of standing out, desperate for acceptance. But in doing so, they give away the most valuable thing they have: their own authenticity. Because the truth is, no matter how much you try to please people, no matter how much you conform, someone will always find a reason to criticize you. If you play it safe, they will call you weak. If you take risks, they will call you reckless. If you succeed, they will say you got lucky. If you fail, they will say you were foolish to try. No matter what you do, there will always be voices telling you that you are not enough. So why waste your energy trying to satisfy them? The moment you realize that external validation is a losing game, you step into your true power. You no longer seek permission to be who you are. You no longer wait for approval to pursue your goals. You move forward not because the world has given you its blessing, but because you have given yourself permission to exist fully, unapologetically. And that is when everything changes. Because when you stop needing their approval, you become unstoppable. You are no longer swayed by their opinions. You do not shrink when they doubt you. You do not collapse when they criticize you. You recognize that their judgment is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their own limitations. But here's what makes this even more powerful. When you step into this mindset, when you truly embrace who you are without fear, people take notice. They may not always admit it, but they respect. They see in you something that they themselves wish they had. The courage to be real, to be bold, to be unshaken. And that is what unsettles them. Because they realize that you are not waiting for their approval, you are not seeking their permission, you are moving forward regardless. And that, more than anything, is what makes you a force they cannot ignore. So let them talk, let them doubt, let them whisper in the shadows. It does not matter. Because you are no longer playing their game. You are no longer bound by their rules. You are free. And a person who is truly free, free from fear, free from approval, free from the need to be liked, is the most powerful kind of person there is. And that is why they tried to bury you. But now you are the fire they cannot put out.